Everything Rocks. This is Zone 96.3 on Wednesday afternoon, and we welcome some special guests into the studio from Candlebox. Adam and Kevin Martin here. First of all, thank you guys very much for taking time to join us today.
Our pleasure, man.
Super cool to see you guys. Kevin, I was just telling you in the car on the way here that, like, it was the soundtrack of, 1994, 1993, I remember putting that CD on, this CD that you just signed for me, and driving to the lake with my friends for, hours, and we listened to it a billion times, man, and it's really cool to have you here.
Thanks, man. It's our pleasure.
Tonight, the pub station, you guys have a chance to check out the venue yet?
I walked in to use the restroom, that's about it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did a quick walkthrough in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking the last time you guys were here.
Lots of good beer.
Yeah.
Oh, and a lot of good beer, that's true. Last time you guys were here was in the 90s. Boy, that's been a long time, right?
Yeah, what, going on 17 years, I think is the last time we played here.
Yeah, and 26 years as Candlebox, which has got to kind of blow your mind a little bit.
It trips me out. Yeah, it trips me out. Every day I'm like, God, I can't believe I'm still doing this, And I never knew that this was what I was going to do when I was a kid, so I just wanted to be a fireman.
You wanted to be a fireman?
And here I am, 26 years later, still doing this stupid crap.
I was like 12 when that album came out. You were kind of young when you moved to Seattle, and I know you got to see a lot of the bands that were up and coming. You guys were kind of like after Seattle sound, almost?
Yeah, well, I was 14 when I moved there in 84.
Mm-hmm.
And then we formed as Uncle Duke in 89, and then became Candlebox in 91. So obviously, I'm a lot years younger than Chris and Eddie and all those guys from those bands, 5 and 6 years younger. So it was a trip. We kind of were the redheaded stepchild of Seattle. A lot of people didn't know who we were because we hadn't been playing the Seattle scene as long as those cats.
Right, and I'd read some interviews with you before that you had got to see Soundgarden, like early stuff, like Ultra Mega OK or
yeah, as a 3-piece.
Right?
Chris was playing drums and singing. Yeah,
that's super cool. And one of my buddies, when he found out that I was going to have you in the studio today, he was like, "Well, what kind of questions do you have? Did he meet Kurt? Did you meet Kurt?"
I never met Kurt.
Okay.
I knew Chris and Dave pretty well, but never met Kurt.
Okay, and of course, the other Dave from Pearl Jam 10 is actually drumming with you guys.
Dave Cruzen, yeah, he joined Candlebox in late '96.
Right, a lot of people don't know that. He was kind of just as much of an original member of Candlebox as he was of Pearl Jam, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny because Dave's actually played on the last 4 Candlebox records, and Scott only played on 2. Yeah, so it's kind of a weird story about him being our drummer for longer than he was not our drummer.
Right. Well, and I was thinking back on when I might have stumbled upon you guys, because I came from a small town in northeastern Montana, and I was kind of like, Seattle was our closest city, so that's kind of what I identified with, right? So I was like into Mudhoney, I was into Mother Love Bone and Green River and those bands and stuff. And the first time I heard Far Behind, I kind of felt like, and then it wasn't until quite a bit later that I found out that was actually a tribute to
Andy.
Andy,
yeah. Andy was one of those guys, man. He one of the first persons I met when I was working in a shoe store called Fluvog, and he came in. He's a big rock star dude, and he wasn't even then.
Was he like huge in Seattle at the time? Was that like the band to go see?
No,
go see Andy.
He just, his persona was so massive. He was at the time he was singing for Malfunction, which was a band he had with Regan and a couple cats and his brother Kevin. The scene was really just about to start kind of blowing up there. And then, of course, they formed Mother Love Bone in whatever it was, 88. And it kind of all changed from that point on. But yeah, Andy was one of those guys that, when I met at a young age, that you listen to what people you like have to say. He made a real impact on me and said, if you're going to do music, you need to do it as your only career.
Cool.
And I never forgot that.
Was that your favorite Seattle band, or what was your favorite Seattle band kind of coming up when you were at that age?
Well, I loved Malfunction, but I would have to say probably Green River.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I'm more into punk rock.
Yeah.
I moved from Texas to Seattle, and my favorite music when I was growing up was punk rock. So Green River really kind of epitomized Seattle to me and what it really meant. Although all the bands are amazing, and there's so many bands that people don't even know about, from the 80s that are still you know.
Make me a list, man.
There's some mad stuff from there. But yeah, Green River was just, you know, they just were so
They were
awesome.
cool.
You know,
They
just
were
so
so
awesome, and I loved that. And so then, of course, you know, you find Malfunction and Soundgarden and all the
Sure.
other stuff after that.
Yeah.
For me.
So were your parents into music when you were coming up?
My dad was a jazz musician, and my mom was a singer.
Oh, so
yeah,
quite
I was always
obviously.
around. Yeah.
So you didn't have, like, my parents had like AC/DC and Zeppelin albums around the house. I know you're a touch older than me, not very much, but what kind of music did they have later on?
Well, my dad was only into jazz
Okay.
and classical music.
Uh-huh.
My dad was born in 1922,
So like Miles Davis stuff.
Yeah, and my mother loved the classics, but she also loved gospel music and R&B. So I kind of grew up with that, but then I had an older sister who listened to punk rock and new wave. So that's how I found the Clash and the Cars. And then my brother Dennis was into Rush and Elton John and
Cool.
Saga, which I don't know.
Okay.
That is. So that's how kind of where I heard the more progressive rock stuff.
Mhm.
But for me, what really sat was, you know, like going and listening to my sister's, you know, Cars records and Clash records and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that.
Well, real quick for you and for Adam, do you guys listen to newer music? What kind of stuff do you listen to when you're out on the road and stuff? Adam?
Well, I mean, I think we listen to everything. For me, one of the best things is, especially when we do festivals and things, is getting to see bands that I would never cross paths with and getting
Sure.
to see their live show. Because, I mean, I love albums, but, you know, when you see a band live, that's
Right.
when you really get the test of what they're about and you get their whole vibe. And
Can you name one of your favorite bands right now out on the scene?
Well, you know, I'm still really into Tame Impala. I love those guys when
Okay.
they came out, and they're just for me, there's very few bands I can put on anything they do and listen to it. You know, it's like the 90s Radiohead was a great band that I could put on all the records they did in that time and just listen to them, and still to this
Okay.
day. You know, there's a lot of bands I dig and then it comes and goes, but the ones that are forever green, those are the best bands.
Right?
know?
Kevin?
Tame Impala as well. Yeah, I'm also I'm listening to a lot of like Arctic Monkeys, and
Oh, yeah.
I kind of like the poppier side of the new music. The kind of, because there's like this dark undercurrent in it.
Right.
You know,
You could write a pop song dirty.
Yeah, and I think that's like, you know, that's one of the cool things about that. Like even the 1975, you know, as poppy as they are, there's real darkness in their music. And MGMT, you know, most people know that song Pumped Up Kicks is about the Columbine shooting.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah,
most
it's
people
got a
didn't
dark,
know that.
it's
You
really
know,
got a dark tone to it.
you listen
but-
to this
yeah.
happy song, you know, you better run, run, run. I mean, it's cool to me that there's that kind of undercurrent of darkness. So I'm not really listening to a lot of rock and roll right now because I find it to be a little bit cookie cutter-ish,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not that they're not great bands or whatever, you know, but, you know, Disturbed having to go do Sounds of Silence, I think is just kind of, you know,
So you
it's
guys
one
aren't
of the
gonna,
songs you just don't touch.
you guys aren't going to cover like Bridge Over Troubled Water
No.
or anything cool like that.
No.
Well, but that's an important thing, though, man, is having the depth. And I think what he's saying is like a lot of stuff is very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And you even go back to like if you go back to the Beatles, that's what made them so great. They had a great pop sensibility, but they wrote about deep shit. You know,
Well, even
It wasn't
Nirvana.
all- Yeah,
Nirvana wrote
exactly.
some great. Oh, you can cuss here. I don't care. Nirvana wrote some great pop songs that were
Yeah.
also not, you know, totally pop songs, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what music's supposed to do. It's supposed to challenge you, and I think that
Yeah.
a lot of what's happening right now in rock and roll is it's just not challenging. And that's not to say that, you know, those bands aren't great. I find it to be a little bit vanilla.
When you were talking about you did the festivals, you guys just came from Lollapalooza, Chile.
Chile, yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
smokes! I watched that video and you guys killed it. But how many people were there? Like
We
half
played-
a million?
Yeah,
How do you even count? How do you know?
You really can't count. It gets to a certain point, and you're just like, "Fuck! I'm glad this many."
That's
people
a
showed
lot
up.
of people.
Heck, I'm glad this many people showed up.
Well, the festival, you know, the festival itself is like, I think you sell 80,000 tickets.
Uh-huh.
And we played the new music stage, which was with the Joy Formidable,
Okay.
and a couple other kind of eclectic bands like that. Walk the Moon was on the stage with us, and so when we played, I would say probably 12 to 15,000 people on our stage, but like we were over watching Eagles of Death Metal before we played because they went on before us on the other stage, and there was probably 60,000 people watching them.
Oh man, that's just
It's
well,
insane, dude.
You guys opened for Rush and Metallica,
Yeah.
so I mean you had to have had a crowd at those shows.
Oh
right?
sure, and then
Yeah.
Woodstock '94.
Oh, and Woodstock. Yeah, I forgot you guys did did
Yeah,
the
we headlined the
25th
Friday night.
anniversary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were opening for bands like that, now you are, the headliner. How do you line up the opening bands? Like tonight we've got Pete RG and
Low Water.
Yeah, and Low Water. Where'd you pick those guys up?
Well, Adam and Dave played with Pete RG, so that which is kind of cool for them. But we always take bands we like.
Sure.
When we did our headlining tour in '94, after the success of the first record, we took the Flaming Lips out with us because we loved them, and I'd been listening to them since like '86. So for me, it was an honor to introduce our audience to a band that I felt was really important at the time.
Right.
And I know Barty, our bass player, did as well. And Adam and I generally, when we pick the opening bands, it's we like to listen to the music and figure out who they are, what they're about. Is it a sound that we want to listen to every night? Is it a band that we want to invite up on stage and jam with, or do we want to get up and jam with them? That's what we concern ourselves with. So, Low Water, they're great. They're from Athens.
I saw a video of you the other day. Low Water was doing a Pearl Jam song, and you jumped
Release.
up. Yeah, and you jumped up and
Sneaked up on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean
cool.
that's the thing. Like that, that's you want to be around people you want to be around, but at the same time you want to introduce your audience to new music. And Low Water's one of these cool Southern rock bands, man. That they get it. There's depth to their songs, and they're inspired. And same with Peter G. I call it like an anthemic, ethereal Leonard Cohen kind of rock.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Pete's he's like a baritone bass.
Yeah.
And he sings kind of like
interesting
Leonard Cohen, and so it's cool. And it's about kind of introducing our audience to that kind of new music that we love.
Nice. Well, we're definitely looking forward to it tonight. The Pete RG, Low Water, and Candlebox happening at the Pub Station, which is a wonderful venue. You
Cool
guys
little
are gonna
stage.
absolutely love this place. Yeah, it's got a great stage. Disappearing in Airports is out Friday, which I'm sorry we didn't get around to talking to. We've been playing Vexatious and Supernova a lot.
Right on. How's the response been?
Great, man. I mean, and you hear the guys that are like, man, I must have listened to that CD a million, the first Candlebox, or even Lucy, or, all of us have our phase of Candlebox, I suppose, and now you just get new ones all the time, huh?
Yeah, we're excited. This record, for us, I dare say it's the best record we've ever made because it's so cohesive.
It's almost like not like a theme record, but like a
concept album.
Like a concept album, but
it
not
has
totally,
that.
right?
Yeah, it's weird. Like there's the running story through the record is this is life, and each song has an element of my life or things that I've been inspired by or affected by, and all of these songs were affected by the five of us in the studio, and we've never made a record like this. We did drums and bass in 4 days, guitar overdubs in 2, and then vocals in 6.
A little cheaper to make a record now than it was in
a lot
1993.
Yeah, it is, and it has to be because there's no more budgets for records anymore.
There's no more tape.
Yeah.
We can go all afternoon right here, man.
Yeah. So it has that sense of urgency, I think, because we limited the time that we were spending on it, but we were so sparked in the studio, man. I mean, it was just bang, 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 and we've never made a record like that. Candlebox was never, even the first record, when we did the demo tape, in '91, we did that in 12 hours, but we only used 2 songs from it. It's not really that good of a demo tape. And then the record took 6 weeks.
Which was what, Far Behind and
You, which
and
those
You?
on this CD, those are the demo versions that we did in Easter Sunday of
First cut,
'91.
huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Which a lot of people don't know. And in their infancy, they're still our biggest songs, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're still just amazing.
But yeah, this record has that undercurrent, has that visceral excitement, urgency to it that makes you think that it's a concept album. And I think it's like 48 minutes or 53 minutes of rock and roll, and when it's done, you want to listen to it again, which makes me happy.
Never want to stop, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to a new chapter of Candlebox in my life, and I'm definitely looking forward to the show tonight. And I thank you guys very much. I mean,
pleasure.
like I said, man, you're like my childhood hero, so this is super cool. Thank you guys very much for coming in tonight at the Pub Station, Candlebox, and we'll see you guys then.
I know.
Awesome, thanks.